Dear students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Plant Physiology course. In this short video, we are going to introduce the root. So what is root? It is somewhat difficult to define the root. Anyway, we are going to define it, or at least we shall try to define it. So root is a cylindrical organ which is devoid of chlorophyll. It lacks chlorophyll. All the roots, they lack chlorophyll. You will never find chlorophyll in the roots. So root is a cylindrical plant organ. It is devoid of chlorophyll and it doesn't bear any buds. Bud is a characteristic of stem. So there are no buds on the root except in rare cases, as we shall see in the following discussion. So it lacks chlorophyll and bears no buds, and generally it tends to grow downwards into the soil. So root is a cylindrical plant organ which does not contain chlorophyll, or it lacks chlorophyll and doesn't bear any buds, and it tends to grow downwards into the soil. Moreover, it bears a cap at its tip, and that is known as root cap. So root is a cylindrical plant organ. This is soil and this is the stem, and now we are entering the area which is usually called the root stem transition, where the stem changes into root. So this is root. So this is a cylindrical organ which grows downwards into the soil and bears at its tip a small cap which is known as the root cap. It does not bear any buds. There is no chlorophyll in the root, and it bears what we haven't mentioned in the definition. Below the tip, it bears several thin hairs known as the root hairs, which are meant for the absorption of water. So these are root hairs. So this was a definition of the root. We have tried to define it, that what is root. Cylindrical organ without chlorophyll, without any buds, and it almost always tends to grow downwards into the soil, and it bears at its tip a cap known as root cap, and moreover it has fine hairs, hair-like structures below the tip, and those are known as root hairs, which are meant for absorption. So this is a general definition of the root. Now as far as the origin of the root is concerned, that how root is formed, or from which part of the plant, or where does it originate, or where it is formed. So the root may be taproot or adventitious root. These are the two basic kinds of roots. Now taproot is the one which arises from radicle, or radicle changes into root. Radicle is part of a seed. So let's draw a seed. This is purely diagrammatic, so don't worry about it. This is a seed, say a gram seed. Now this particular part, this is the axis of the embryo. This is embryo, and embryo has two parts. The upper part, this is known as plumule. We are not discussing seed, but just to give you an idea that how root is formed, the origin, the first root or the taproot. And the lower part, this is known as radicle of the seed, and this is the area which grows downwards into the soil and forms the first root of the plant, what we call the taproot. So this is radicle and these are cotyledons. This is a dicot plant, say it's a gram seed. So we have opened up the seed to seed spot and see where is radicle. So this radicle grows downwards, and all the seeds, the angiospermic seeds, whether it's a monocot seed or a dicot seed, they bear radicle as part of their embryo. So this is the embryo, the main axis of the seed, and it bears radicle, and this radicle grows downwards into the soil and forms the first root known as the taproot. So this is the normal root, and in most cases it persists and it is a permanent structure of the plant. The second kind is something different. It doesn't originate or doesn't form from the radicle. So adventitious root can be defined in one way, that the root which does not arise from the radicle. Okay, so if it does not arise from the radicle, so how it is formed? The second definition, or we can define it in another way, adventitious roots are those roots which arise from stem or other parts of the plant other than radicle. So radicle is not involved in the formation of adventitious roots other than radicle. So it may arise from the stem, or it may even arise from other parts like leaf. So sometimes, like the begonia or bryophyllum, their leaves usually form adventitious roots and small plantlets. So this was the basic definition of root, that roots are of two kinds, taproot and adventitious roots. Taproot arises from the radicle of the seed. So this is the seed and this is its radicle, and taproot forms from the radicle. And this is the main root. In most cases, this is the main root of the plant. In some plants, the main root does not persist, or if it is there, it's very small, and it is taken over by other kinds of roots, those which arise from the stem or any other part of the plant, but they do not arise from the radicle, and they are known as adventitious roots. So this was a very brief introduction to the root and its basic kinds. In the next video, we shall start the discussion of taproot. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.